three-step process I use for turning an average scene into a great painting. First, I choose what I love about the scene, and then I use the light to enhance that area, and then I design the shapes so that they're very interesting and there's a lot of variety there, and I use those shapes to lead the eye to the center of interest. Hey guys, welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to paint this beautiful scene from the South Island. I've just been down there painting, and this one's painted from photographs that I took while I was down there plein air painting. Now, whether it's painting from life or painting from a photograph, you're always trying to make the best out of the scene, right? You're trying to idealize it in a way and make it, present it in its best light. So that's the big question. How do we make the best out of this scene, yeah? So how I answer that question for myself is I ask myself, what is the one thing or few things that I love the most about this scene? And then I really focus in on that, and I'll let that one thing guide all my decisions for this whole painting. So I look at this scene, and the one thing I really like the most is this whole area here in the middle, because it's got this beautiful sort of S-curve happening, and I love these tussocks, especially when the light's on them, and the idea of putting some reflections in here and some water. So as soon as I identify that, I pour all my effort into enhancing that area and subduing other areas, or using shape design and light design to lead my eye to that spot. So from that point on, all I need to do to design a better painting from this photograph or this scene is to look at two things. First is the lighting idea, the big lighting idea for this whole painting, and the second is shape design. Let's look at lighting first. Now, when you're taking photos for paintings, it's a great idea to stay there for a while, which is easy if you're doing an outdoor painting, and just keep taking photos periodically through the time that you're there, because the light is going to change all the time, and sometimes it'll be just right. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll be in shadow, and sometimes it'll be in light. Like in this one here, this was in shadow when I first got there, and then the sun came out. But what I'd like is a combination of these two scenes. So what I can do, since I took these in a fairly similar position, I can just lay one over top of the other and then delete this top layer to reveal the light. Isn't that magical? So just simply by doing that, I've made what I call a light sandwich. I've got soft shadow in the foreground, I've got light in the midground, shadow back here, and then I'd like to break through this cloud, have the mountain up here, and have light on the mountain. So I've got shadow, light, shadow, light. That soft shadow in the foreground is a really easy and beautiful way to subtly lead the eye into the center of interest. So that's often number one for me, is the big lighting idea, like how am I going to guide people's eyes through this painting? And it's something that beginner painters often miss out on because they're just trying to replicate what they see, and that's hard enough, and you need to get through that until you feel confident enough that you can actually orchestrate the lighting the way you want it in the scene. So step two is shape design. How am I going to lead the eye through the painting with shapes? And also, how am I going to create enough variety in my shapes? Because variety is king. If you have a painting that is full of variety, it's going to hold the viewer's attention for longer, and that's really the whole point. So as I said before, I've got some nice shapes in here. I've got this beautiful S-curve. Got this bank here. Sort of a triangle, rough triangle shape, leading the eye deeper into the painting, which is nice. Now I've got this shape here in the light, this shape in the shadow. Got these other dark shapes I could use. Nice little bit of interest in the foreground. The thing I really love here though is this area here. So I'm going to cut some stuff out of the painting that I don't really want. All of this here, don't really want it, so I'll trim it to something more like that. Now I've still got this nice S-curve, this shape here. I'll bring this thing into the foreground because I like that. I can create this, make this a little more zigzaggy, put that little grass there. So a really nice S-curve going through there. I like the light hitting this little bush here, but I'd like to make more of that. So I'll bring it a little closer and bigger and make the shape a little more interesting. Now I'd like a little more shape interest in these trees here, so I'll have, it's already suggesting it, I'll have a bit of a roundy tree here and some pointy trees in the background, another pointy tree here, something like that. This mountain is being obscured by the cloud, but I know it's up there and I've seen it before. And I'm going to paint that in like that. Now what I'd like to do is add some mist in the background so that this mountain rises from the mist, making it really sort of romantic or epic. So that's the basic idea with the shapes. What I try to do is make all the shapes slightly different. You can have repeating shapes, like here's a roundy tree, here's a roundy tree, but they're different sizes and they will be slightly different shapes. And this one here could have been just a standard shape like this, but I've added a little more interest by cutting into it like that. Similarly, the shapes that I make in here will be similar to each other, but they won't be exactly the same. Now thinking about the angle of the sun, I know from experience that these grasses here and this riverbed here will look a lot more interesting if the sun were coming from over here, because it'll really light up the tops of these and the tree, and it's going to cast, making these shadow areas stronger, and it's going to cast some shadows onto the riverbed, and with direct light rather than this soft diffused light which we see in this scene, the shadows are going to be darker and the lights are going to be lighter. So there'll be more contrast, which is more variety, more interesting to look at. So that's the three-step process I use for turning an average scene into a great painting. First I choose what I love about the scene, and then I use the light to enhance that area, and then I design the shapes so that very interesting and there's a lot of variety there, and I use those shapes to lead the eye to the center of interest. So I hope that helps in your next painting when you're thinking about those three things, and feel free to paint along with me in this one here as I show you the step-by-step process I use to paint this in oils and the special brush techniques I use to create this expressive style of painting. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just click the link in the description and it'll take you through to the lesson page where you can get the full lesson and learn about all the materials and techniques that I use for painting this, and you can paint along with me. I think it's about a 2-hour lesson, so I look forward to seeing you there. You can also get this lesson for free if you sign up for the free 7-day trial on my website, and that gives you access to nearly 200 lessons that I've created over the past 15 years. So I hope you'll join me there. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like and subscribe button and all of that. It does help. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.